Welcome back to the Sonic Locker Room. This is Bill Althouse of Sideliner Sports, and we're celebrating our 18th year bringing you the best and the brightest from Eastern Jackson County and the metro area. And it's such an honor today to visit with our good friend Ben Licklider. This is his 4th year as the head boys track and field coach at Blue Springs High School. And Ben, and talking to some of the area coaches, and everybody's talking about the Wildcats this year. You had so many outstanding youngsters compete last year. They're back a year smarter, a year stronger, another year's worth of experience. How excited are you about this season?
We're very excited. Last year we were kind of looking at some of our varsity sprint relays and some things we did at the end of last year. And we're like, okay, man, a lot of these guys are going to be back for at least a year, and a lot of them 2 years. Because we had a lot of sophomores running last year toward the end of the season, which is good. And they ran very well at the end of last year, and we're hoping that they can continue to progress and make some progress and keep lowering those times and increasing those marks.
It's always so much fun for me to visit with a first-year coach, hopes, aspirations, what their dreams are with the program. This is your 4th year. Every member of the team has only known your coaching style. When you took over the program 4 years ago, are you where you'd hope to be after the first 4 years?
I think we're in a good place. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice now that the seniors this year, they were the freshmen when I first took over, mm-hmm. and there was a little bit of an adjustment because we did some things a little bit differently than we've done in the past. And now this year, I feel like everybody has only kind of known how we run things, and so you see a lot of kids. That we have kids that are just jumping in and leading the warm up, and we can trust the kids. Hey, these are the workouts. We'll be at practice, but it's like, hey, you can kind of go run the workouts. The times you need to hit and stuff like that. So it's kind of been fun to see that process kind of play out, and how kids are kind of picking up and now taking ownership instead of like learning the process. They know the process, and they can be the ones that are kind of in charge of driving the ship. If you want to use that phrase, I guess. It just fascinates me how the great coaches, and your predecessor Joe Cusack was certainly one of them, can make a group of kids that may not even see each other at a track and field meet feel like they're part of a team. And with Joe, I think that came from having the throwers go watch the sprinters or the distance people. When the track people were done, then they would come and support their teammates. I just love the Blue Springs High School track and field programs because they are, to somewhat of an extent, unique, because I know not all teams can accomplish that. How have you maintained that at Blue Springs? We just we try to encourage kids to, number one, try a lot of different events. My kind of philosophy is, hey, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, we're going to try stuff out. We're going to see what works. We're going to see what fits you, maybe what fits the team, and we got to kind of mold those two things together. So, we've had some kids that, maybe they were a jumper or a sprinter their freshman year, and now they're they're throwing javelin and discus. Like one of my jav guys is a junior this year. That's what he did his freshman year. He wanted to be a jumper. Vance Herring last year, he was all-state javelin thrower. Well, he was a high jumper and he was a short sprinter his freshman year. Wow. And then we kind of were like, hey, why don't you try out the javelin? And in sophomore year, he started throwing the javelin. And so I think that idea that, hey, don't just get in your lane and kind of do your one thing is really important to me. Is I want kids to be able to try and find different things that maybe they didn't even think they'd be successful at. But then they pick up a pole vault pole and they start jumping 10 feet, and it's pretty fun when you get to do that. So that's kind of what I just try to encourage kids to try things when they're younger. And then, when we get to junior, senior year, we kind of, hey, maybe this is the area that you maybe need to kind of look at a little bit more seriously. So that's kind of how I've approached that.
Who are some of the youngsters on the team that we need to put a red flag on and watch throughout the rest of this season?
Well, we got a couple like returners. Jaden Franklin, who's a sophomore, ran on our varsity 4x4 at the end of the year last year. Stan Clark, he's a guy that he was at the beginning of the year. He was kind of like a freshman running at freshman meets. By the end of the year, he'd gotten up to the JV level, and we think he's going to help us out on some of our varsity sprint relays this year. We got Quali Staley. He was a freshman last year. He's made a big jump, had a huge PR in the 300 hurdles, at our JV meet last week. So we got some sophomores that, have early in the season kind of been kind of picking up ahead of where they left off last year. And then we have a few pretty stud freshmen that have shown up. Hugh Duran is a guy in the throws that we think kind of once he gets into meets, he's going to start throwing really far. Aiden Maskell and Kingston Bosaway are two freshmen that have, we took them to some varsity meets kind of early on just because of some things that we've seen from them in time trials and stuff like that. So those would probably be some of the young guys off the top of my head, and I'm probably missing a few guys, but these young guys have been doing a really, really good job. They're working hard, and they have the ability, and they just got to get in some meets and keep getting these marks coming down like they have been.
Who are some of the exciting returnees?
Well, some of our varsity guys that have been here, we got Devin Jackson. He's kind of like our mainstay on our 4x2s, 4x4s, 200, 400s, stuff like that. Ricky Hazy, he was a sophomore. They were both sophomores last year,
okay.
Had really good seasons. Ricky is going to start, we put him in he was in the 400s last year. He's going to start running a little bit more with our mid-distance crew this year, and he's already been running fairly well in the 800 for a guy that's just starting those races. Lincoln Herring is probably been our big stud here early on. I mean, he's thrown 55 twice at Darwin Rolls, and he backed that up with another mid 54 throw in like really windy conditions up at Ron Ives on Friday. So I just keep telling him like, hey, be patient. Once we get some good throwing conditions, I mean, I think he's gonna pick up a javelin and just launch one. So Silas Babalolo is another one. He's been throwing really well early on. Leo Yanez won the 110 hurdles at Ron Ives. So yeah, we've had a lot of returner guys that kind of been showing why that they're the returners and they're the experienced guys. They're the ones that have been here already. So it's been a pretty exciting start to the season.
When you have an exciting start to the season, with all these young men that have only known your style of coaching, does it just make your practices, and I'm not saying easier in regard to the training, but easier in regard to the setup? Like you say, some senior or junior will just take a group out, get everybody going before the start of the practice, before the start of the meet, and maybe it's just more comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's been really encouraging because of that, and it just, I think it kind of shows that the kind of as you get to that point, that leadership aspect takes over of the guys not just wanting to sit there and be constantly told what to do by coaches, because that's what a lot of people think happens. I'm like, well, yeah, we're probably going to tell them a lot at the beginning, but we want them to learn, and then we want them to take ownership. And so the fact that, these guys, they're taking ownership because, we've been doing this stuff. They kind of know the deal. They know our expectations. And so they kind of have now internalized that and kind of run with it. And it's just been really fun to see early in the season. It's
been a pretty normal spring. Had a few crazy days, but yeah. I had a soccer match last week, and you just knew the team that had the wind to its 35-mile-an-hour wind to its back. Yeah, that was going to be their time to shine. Yeah, and like you said, with the winds, depending on if they're crosswind to your back, to your face. Do you practice for stuff like that, or do you just handle it when it comes?
I'd say early in the season, probably we kind of talk about it a little bit more, and then if we get the opportunity later in the season, because that's what I always tell them is like, guys, yeah, we want to run fast, but at the end of the day, when you get to district sectionals, it's all about where you place. We want to place in the top 4.
Yes,
and part of it is if you get a day at districts or sectionals where the conditions are not favorable, you got to go out and you got to beat people. If you can't run fast, if you can't throw far because of the conditions, just go out and compete. And so that's what our mantra is kind of early in the season with all these competitions is, yeah, we want to run fast. Yeah, we want to throw far. But if the conditions are kind of limiting that, let's go out and compete and let's try and beat as many people as possible. And Lincoln, I was kind of talking to him on Friday. It was a little bit of a rough day for a lot of the jab throwers. He was the only one that threw over 50 meters. And, because the conditions were just a little tough to manage in a javelin competition. I'm like, hey, that's what I'm happy about is everybody else is throwing here and you came out and you threw that was just under your best of what you established last week when you had way better conditions. So the fact that he went out and kind of competed and kind of exemplified that idea of, hey, if it's not perfect conditions, we can still go out and compete hard and try and beat people and place as high as we can. So
Ben, it's always such a pleasure, man. You know so much about the sport. You're such a knowledgeable guy, and it's not like an interview, Ben. It's just like a conversation, and I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck this week at Rusty Hodge, and I hope we'll have many conversations down the road.
Thank you very much.